Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a wise person. Wise enough to know your limits, wise enough to focus on your growth, and wise enough to understand that in the word "on." There's a powerful affirmation of your own word. But how do you say no without feeling guilty? Without worrying about letting others down? It starts with understanding your own value and the value of your time. Every no offers a hidden gift. The gift of opportunity to say yes to something else, something that might be more meaningful and fulfilling. I want to share a story with you. There was once a young man eager to make his mark in the world who said yes to everything. He thought this was the key to success. Before long, he found himself exhausted, disillusioned, and frankly unhappy. One day, he met an old wise man who saw his distress and told him, "Young man, why carry stones you don't need on your journey?" This simple question struck a chord. He realized that not every request, every opportunity needed his nesses. By learning to say no, he started to shape his own path, focusing on what truly mattered to him. And in this focus, he found success, and more importantly, happiness. Now let me ask you, what stones are you carrying that you don't need? What commitments are weighing you down, keeping you from soaring to your highest potential? It's time to reassess, to reflect on what's truly important. Remember, every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to something that does. In the end, it's about balance. It's about making informed choices that align with your personal and professional life. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a wise person. Wise enough to know your limits, wise enough to focus on your growth, and wise enough to understand that in the word "on." There's a powerful affirmation of your own worth and values. So my friends, let's embrace the strength of saying no. Let's not overload our backs with unnecessary burdens. Instead, let's walk with purpose, with clarity, and with the freedom to choose the paths that lead us to a more fulfilling life. Remember, it's not about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. In our lives, the choices we make are like seeds we plant. Each decision, each yes and no, is a seed that grows into the future we live in. But in our eagerness to grow a lush garden, we sometimes forget the power of choosing not to plant certain seeds. We say yes to everything, trying to be everything to everyone. And before we know it, we're lost in a forest of obligations, unable to see the sky through the leaves. Now consider the impact of a single no. It's like clearing a space in the forest, giving yourself room to breathe, to see the sun, to choose what else you want to grow in that space. This is the philosophy of choice. Understanding that every yes and every no shapes the landscape of our lives. Let me ask you this. How often have you said yes when every fiber of your being wanted to say no? We've all been there, haven't we? We say yes because we want to be liked, we want to be helpful, or we fear missing out. But every time we do this, we make a little trade. We trade a piece of our potential, our dreams, and our happiness for the fleeting satisfaction of others. But imagine the possibilities when you exercise the power of saying no. You create the time and space for the things that truly matter to you. This isn't just about refusing things you don't want to do. It's about making a conscious decision to prioritize your personal and professional development. Think about it in the context of work. When you're clear about your goals and priorities, saying no becomes easier. It means you're not just being busy, you're being productive, you're not just filling your time, you're investing it in your future. And what happens then? You develop as a professional, you gain respect for your time and skills, and you open doors to opportunities that align with your aspirations. Let's talk about personal development too. Saying no is crucial here. It's about setting boundaries that protect your time, energy, and emotions. It's about knowing your worth and not compromising it for anyone or anything. This might mean saying no to social events that drain you, to habits that hinder you, or even to people who don't add value to your life. Here's a story that I find quite enlightening. There was a woman, let's call her Sarah, who was known in her community as someone who could never say no. She volunteered for every task, attended every meeting, and always put others' needs above her own. Over time, Sarah became exhausted and lost her sense of purpose. One day, she decided to say no to a request that she usually would have accepted. At first, she felt guilty, but then something miraculous happened. She found she had time to pursue a passion she had neglected for years. Painting! Sarah's opened the door to a world of color, joy, and personal fulfillment she hadn't known she was missing. This story illustrates that saying no isn't about being negative or selfish. It's about making choices that nurture your soul and lead you to a fuller, more vibrant life. It's about crafting a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. So, my friends, as we navigate the choices of our lives, let's not underestimate the power of no. It's a complete sentence, a statement of intent, and a declaration of independence. It's about taking control, steering your life in the direction you want it to go. Now, I'm not advocating that you turn down every request or opportunity that comes your way, but I'm encouraging you to be selective, to choose wisely, and to remember that every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to something that does. Let's embrace the philosophy of choice with open arms and clear minds. Let's recognize that in the grand tapestry of life, each thread of no is as crucial as the threads of yes. Together, they create a picture of who we are and what we value. In our life, saying yes too often can weave a pattern of stress and overcommitment, entangling us in a web of responsibilities we never intended to bear. Let's ponder on this. Have you ever felt like you're running on a treadmill of yeses, constantly accelerating to keep up with the pace of your commitments? It's a common scenario, and it leads to a path where balance is lost and personal limits are ignored. Let's dive into a story about a man named Tom. Tom was a go-getter, the kind of person who never turned down a request. He believed that by saying yes, he was proving his worth, climbing the ladder of success. But here's what happened. Tom became the RS- man of work, always taking on extra projects, always the one volunteering for overtime. Initially, it brought him recognition, but as time passed, the quality of his work diminished due to the sheer volume of his responsibilities. His health suffered, his relationships waned, and his stress levels soared. Tom had fallen into the yes trap where the fear of missing out and the desire to please others overrode his sense of self-care and balance. Now think about your own experiences. Have you ever felt like Tom, stretched so thin that the joy of life begins to seep away, leaving you exhausted and unfulfilled? This is the consequence of our ways saying. It leads to a life out of balance, where stress becomes a constant companion and personal fulfillment is a rare guest. But let's not dwell on the negatives without seeking solutions. The key is to understand the importance of balance and knowing your limits. Balance is not about having a static life. It's about having the flexibility to adjust, to know when to say yes and when it's crucial to say no. It's about understanding that you can't be everything to everyone and that sometimes you need to prioritize your own needs and aspirations. Consider the example of Lisa, a talented artist who loved to help her community. She used to say yes to every charity event, every community project, even when it meant sacrificing her time for painting, her true passion. Over time, Lisa realized she was losing her essence, her identity as an artist. She started to say no, not out of selfishness, but to reclaim the time she needed for her art. This shift didn't make her less generous. It made her more authentic and happier. Her art flourished, and ironically, she was able to contribute more significantly to her community through her renewed creativity and success. So how do we find this balance? It begins with self-awareness, with recognizing and respecting your limits. It's about listening to your inner voice, that quiet guide that tells you when enough is enough. When you honor your limits, you're not being selfish. You're being wise. You're ensuring that you can give the best of yourself to the tasks and people that matter most. Now, let me ask you, saying, what are the things that truly matter to you? Are you giving them the time and energy they deserve, or are they being crowded out by a multitude of yes-induced commitments? It's a question worth pondering, because in the answer lies the key to a more balanced, fulfilling life. To navigate this journey, consider adopting a simple practice. Before saying yes, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my priorities? Can I commit to this without sacrificing my well-being? This pause can be the difference between a life of stress and a life of fulfillment. Learning to say no is like tending a garden. You must decide what plants to grow, how to allocate your resources, and when to prune the excess to ensure everything thrives. In life, like in gardening, making these decisions requires understanding, practice, and a set of practical steps. Let's delve into how we can cultivate this skill to ensure our garden, our life. Firstly, recognize the power of your choice. Every time you're faced with a request, remember, it's an invitation, not an obligation. This mindset shift is crucial. You're not at the mercy of others' demands. You're in control, steering your ship in the direction you choose. Now, when a request comes your way, pause and consider its alignment with your goals and values. Ask yourself, does this fit with what I'm trying to achieve in my life? Does it resonate with what I hold dear? If the answer is no, then your decision becomes clear. You're not merely rejecting a request. You're honoring your path and priorities. Let's talk about understanding your bandwidth. We all have limited time and energy. Knowing your limits is key to maintaining balance. Before saying yes, evaluate your current commitments. Can you take on more without sacrificing your well-being and existing responsibilities? If you feel stretched thin, it's probably time to say no. Hey, now, here's a practical step. Practice saying no in low-stakes situations to build your confidence. It could be as simple as declining an extra helping of dessert or opting out of a minor social event. These small acts of refusal strengthen your no muscle, preparing you for bigger, more significant denials when the stakes are higher. Communication is another vital aspect. Saying no doesn't mean being harsh or dismissive. It's about expressing your refusal clearly and respectfully. You might say, I appreciate the offer, but I can't commit to this right now. This way, you're not closing the door on future opportunities. You're merely stating your present limitations. It's also helpful to offer alternatives when saying no. If you can't take on a request, maybe you know someone who can. I can't help with this, but I know someone who might be the right fit. This approach shows you're still supportive and resourceful, even if you're unable to fulfill the requirement. Now, let's consider the fear of missing out, or FOMO, a common reason people struggle to say no. It's the worry that turning down an opportunity means losing something great. But remember, by saying yes to everything, you dilute your focus. Sometimes missing out is actually a gift. It frees you to invest in what's truly important. Remember, too, the importance of self-reflection. Regularly take time to assess your commitments and priorities, what's working, what's not. This ongoing evaluation ensures you're always aligned with your goals and values, making it easier to decide what deserves your yes and what warrants a no. Let me share a story about a man named Michael. He was a community leader, always busy, always involved. He said yes to every project, every request, until one day he realized he was neglecting his own health and family. Michael started to use these practical steps, assessing each request against his personal goals and available bandwidth. He learned to communicate his no's effectively, offering alternatives when possible. Over time, Michael reclaimed his time and health, and his relationships improved. He still contributed meaningfully, but in a way that was sustainable and fulfilling. GP. In the fabric of personal growth, the threads of now weave patterns of opportunity and self-discovery. Saying no might seem like closing a door, but in reality, it's about opening the windows to a world aligned with your true self. It's about creating space for growth, for new experiences, and for the profound journey of becoming who you are meant to be. Consider this. Every time you say no to something that doesn't resonate with your core values, what are you really doing? You're saying yes to your priorities, to your passions, and to the journey of personal fulfillment. This is the power of those in personal growth. It's not a denial, but an affirmation of your path and purpose. Now, let's delve deeper. When you say, oh, you carve out time and space to explore, to learn, and to engage with what truly matters to you. This is where the magic happens. This is where you grow. For instance, when you decline an invitation that doesn't excite you, you free up an evening to spend on a project you're passionate about, to learn a new skill, or simply to rejuvenate. But what are the benefits of focusing on what truly matters? Clarity, for one. You gain clarity about what you really want in life. This clarity fuels your decisions, guiding you towards experiences and opportunities that enrich your life and broaden your horizons. Imagine a life where you do things not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to participate and contribute. This is the life that Saying Nog can help you create. It's a life where you're not overstretched and overwhelmed, but energized and enthusiastic about your commitments because they truly matter to you. And here's an intriguing aspect of saying no. It often leads to respect from others. People begin to recognize your time and energy as valuable. They see that you have priorities and commitments that you honor deeply. This respect can open doors to meaningful connections and opportunities that align with your values and aspirations. Let me share a story about a woman named Clara. She was a busy professional, always taking on new tasks and projects, fearing that saying would halt her career progress. But as her responsibilities piled up, her performance started to wane and her passion dimmed. One day, Clara decided to start saying no to projects that didn't align with her core interests. Initially, she worried about the repercussions, but something incredible happened. Her focus improved, her work quality soared, and she discovered a love for mentoring others. Clara's career didn't suffer. Instead, it flourished in ways she had never anticipated. So, my friends, let's reflect on our own lives. Are we like Clara, stretched thin by the myriad yeses we've accumulated? What could we achieve? What depths of ourselves could we explore if we started saying nah to what doesn't serve us? Embracing the power of no is about more than just reclaiming time. It's about rediscovering who we are and what we love. It's about making conscious choices that lead to a richer, more fulfilling life. And yes, it requires courage, clarity, and sometimes a leap of faith. Consider the tale of Emily, a marketing executive known for her can-do attitude. Emily's willingness to always say yes propelled her early career success. However, it also led to burnout. Her health and personal life suffered as she juggled countless projects. The turning point came when Emily, exhausted and disillusioned, finally said no to a high-profile but time-consuming project. This decision was met with surprise, but also respect from her peers and superiors. With this newfound respect and control over her workload, Emily's career took a positive turn. She achieved better work-life balance, leading to improved health and happiness. Her story teaches us that saying no can sometimes be the most powerful step toward achieving true success and well-being. Then there's the story of Mark, a small business owner. Mark prided himself on being accommodating, always saying yes to client requests no matter how unreasonable. This eagerness to please nearly cost him his business as he overextended, leading to missed deadlines and unhappy clients. Realizing the precariousness of his situation, Mark began to evaluate requests more critically, learning to say "oh" when necessary. This change not only saved his business, but also earned him greater respect from clients who valued his honesty and boundaries. Mark's experience shows that saying no can build credibility and lead to healthier, more sustainable professional relationships. Lastly, let's talk about Anita, a volunteer coordinator for a local charity. Anita's inability to say "I don't know" meant she was constantly overwhelmed. Her passion for charitable work overshadowed by stress and fatigue. When she started selectively committing to projects that aligned with her skills and interests, Anita found her enthusiasm reignited. Her strategic no allowed her to contribute more effectively, leading to significant achievements for the charity and a more fulfilling personal life. Anita's journey illustrates that saying no can lead to more meaningful and impactful engagement in activities we love. These stories of Emily, Mark, and Anita show us that learning to say no is not about turning away opportunities, but about choosing the paths that lead to personal and professional fulfillment. It's about prioritizing what truly matters and aligning our actions with our values and capabilities. The echo of yes often drowns out the quiet power of a no. We're led to believe that the right answer, the polite answer, is always yes. Yes to extra tasks, yes to time-consuming commitments, and yes to the pressures that stretch us thin. But let's pause and think for a moment. What happens when we're always saying yes? Our back gets overloaded, doesn't it? Just like trying to carry too much weight, our shoulders sag and our energy dwindles. Consider this, saying no is not about being unkind or selfish. It's about being selective. Being selective means choosing what's right for you, for your growth, and for your well-being. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is where I stand. Have you ever felt the weight of regret from all? Yes, that should have been, no. Maybe it was agreeing to a project you had no time for or attending an event you didn't care about. It's a common tale, one that stretches across the fabric of our daily lives. But what if I told you that the art of saying no is one of the most powerful tools for personal empowerment? Imagine, for a moment, how it feels when you're overcommitted. You're rushing from one task to another, spreading yourself too thin. And at the end of the day, what do you have left for yourself? Very little, I'd wager. Now, let's flip the script. When you say no to things that don't align with your values or goals, what happens? You gain back time energy and the freedom to choose what truly matters to you.